Well, I'm joined now by Mark Tanzer, the Chief Executive of Abta. Mark, we're here on College Green. I've just dragged you up from the 400 or so people that have gathered here for Travel's Day of Action. And this comes off the back of a very successful Travel Matters conference yesterday. It's been quite a significant week and an important week, but tell us what's happening here today and why it's so important.
Well, this is fantastic. So this is the first day of action that the travel sector as a whole has pulled together, and I'm really delighted to see not just 400 people, but 400 people from different companies, different sectors. It's the first time I can remember travel agents, tour operators, airline pilots, airports all coming together with a common cause, and I think that shows how critical it is at the moment, how deep the crisis is and how urgently we need government action.
Yeah, well, we've talked to lots of people today. They're absolutely saying it is crunch time. And some people might say, why have we not done this before? Because this has been going on a long time. But you've been talking to government, but it seems now something has changed. You know, yesterday at the Travel Matters conference, people talked about being at the end of their tether. It definitely feels like there's an increased frustration or loss of patience now. Why is that?
Well, I think it's because we see the summer season slipping away. You know, when the safe restart of international travel was scheduled for May the 17th, there was hope that people would start to book, that cash would come in, and that we could get moving again. When we saw what was actually planned then, which is a very, very slow introduction of very few countries on the green list, then the government overlays on that another advice saying don't travel for leisure to amber countries, and then they reversed the decision on Portugal. Then I think we felt, well, actually now we are going downhill very fast, and we could see anecdotally bookings were not coming in, and so the anxiety and the anger were both increasing, and that's why I think Travel Matters yesterday, you heard the voices, you're hearing them here today. It really has reached, gone beyond frustration to almost desperation for some.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the people here today are calling for two things. There's two key demands that you're looking for. Just remind us of those.
Well, one is operational. How do we get travel moving again? And we'd like the government to use the traffic light system that they themselves designed, but use it properly. As I say, not then to just have general warnings against travel, and to make it transparent as to what basis countries are going to move from one category to another, so that not only can the industry plan ahead, but customers can have confidence to book. So use the traffic light system. The second is recognise that vaccinated passengers have a very different risk profile in terms of infection and transmission. Other countries have done this. They're way ahead of us in opening up and not requiring quarantine if you've been double vaccinated. It's been rumoured in the press, but government should come out, say they're going to do it, again, building confidence. Even with that, though, if you listen to what the Prime Minister himself has said, it's clear that the domestic economy is going to open up a lot faster than travel is, and that the disruption could go on into the autumn and even the winter. So we need to have financial support. There's no point in stopping the furlough scheme when the travel industry hasn't even started its recovery trajectory. So let's extend that for the travel sector, similarly with business rates relief. And then also look at, can we give targeted sector grants to companies to replace the revenue they've lost? Again, every other country has recognised that an international pandemic is going to impact international travel. We're the only one that stuck out saying we don't do sector deals, but they need to make an exception. Their own data show that this has been the area most badly hit, 90% off last year. The efforts they've put in so far, even limited though they are going to be wasted if these companies fail now. So let's recognise that and get support in there.
Okay. Now, part of today has been you inviting ministers to come out and see you here. Have any ministers turned up today?
I've seen a lot of MPs. I've seen the chairman of the Transport Select Committee. I haven't seen any ministers yet.
So presumably you asked Grant Shapps, you asked Matt Hancock. Who have you asked to be here today?
Well, they're all aware that this event is going on. It's been very highly publicised that the whole sector is here, and we'd like great if they came out and engaged. I was sad yesterday at Travel Matters that the Minister for Aviation had to pull out because of a diary clash
at
very short notice. I think that even if that was inevitable, it was somehow symbolic of the gap that exists between the government and the outbound travel sector, and I think not seeing any ministers here today also reinforces that.
And with that in mind, Mark, you talked yesterday about there being a bias against outbound travel. It has felt like that for a long time. How much hope do you have that today's efforts are actually going to make a difference?
Well, I think you have to keep hoping, and I think the force of all of these different sectors coming together adds weight to the argument of how important outbound travel is. And it's not just about leisure travel, it's business travel, it's about the whole vision of the UK as a global hub. We need to get travel moving. So it's like an iceberg melting. Eventually the iceberg will melt, we just need it to melt faster so that we don't have companies failing in the short term.
Yeah, and whilst ministers aren't here yet, you've got another session from 3 till 5 this afternoon with another 400 people. By the way, it's been limited due to COVID restrictions, we should say that, but that one's going to be full as well. So we have got more hours yet that we may see ministers. But in the meantime, you have had a lot of attention from the national press, and you've had lots of press and TV in here, and that surely will help amplify and promote the cause.
Absolutely. We've been doing TV, radio, newspapers, yourself, it all helps. And I think this isn't, as I say, it's not just about the businesses and the travel sector, it's about the British public who want to travel as well. 58% of us in 2019 took a holiday overseas, and we want to have that holiday back. And as I've said, if you go a year without a holiday, you haven't put off a holiday. You haven't had a holiday.
Yeah.
It's gone, and you're tired, and people are really wanting to get moving again. So it's talking to MPs not just as businesses, but in the interest of their constituents who want to get travelling as well.
And so we're talking about a lot of pent-up demand, and we've always said this is not about going gung-ho into a massive reopening. You were absolutely prepared for it to be slow and gradual, and with public health absolutely at the forefront. But what the government are not now doing is following their own data. They said data, not dates, but they're not following the data.
That's absolutely right, and the messages are so conflicting. So you hear that, well, yes, we're looking at making changes for people who've been double vaccinated, and then in the same breath they say, but actually nothing's going to happen until the winter.
And is that just another leak? I mean,
it is.
We've had so many leaks, which get people's hopes up, and then it gets crushed, and then it's just so confusing as well, because it gets splashed all over the front covers of the newspapers, and people think maybe they might be able to go. I mean, I talk to travel agents; they don't even know what to say anymore to people, and that's really hard for them if they're on the front line.
Yeah, and so much of it is about confidence to book. Even if you're not planning to travel next week, you can book next week for if you're confident you're going to be travelling in late July, August, September, and that starts to get money coming in. But if people aren't even confident enough to do that, then we've got a real problem.
Okay. All right, well, we wish you well with today's lobbying efforts, and of course it's not just here, is it? I mean, you've got people who couldn't make it down today. They're all joining a Twitter storm any second now, I think, and also we've got people writing to their MPs, so it's a really big sort of UK, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland. It's really, everyone's getting together.
Yeah, we've got direct engagement with MSPs in Scotland, with members of the Legislative Assembly in Belfast. Cardiff, they're doing a virtual equivalent lobbying session, and of course the airports have organised events themselves. So it really is across the country that this is happening today, and this is the beginning. It won't all change today, I think, but we've got to keep the pressure up.
Okay, all right, well, we wish you all the best with that on behalf of the whole travel industry, but thank you to Mark Tanzer from Abta.
Thanks.